Welcome back, everybody.
To the second half
Yes.
of the Mary Elizabeth Variety Hour.
Yes, exactly.
I mentioned in the last segment that
Uh-huh.
I love this variety hours of the 1960s,
Right, yeah.
and every performer had one, and I'm so happy to be on yours,
Oh,
Mary Elizabeth.
definitely, yes.
Variety
Always.
Hour.
It's
We should
my
do
pleasure.
skits, and we should do
Yes.
uh, uh, production numbers, and
Yes.
you should wear gowns by Bob Mackey,
Yes.
or I
Like
mean,
cheerleaders.
yeah, or Carol Burnett, or any of those people.
Yeah.
I heard that Bob Mackey did something like 400 over many years, 400 gowns
Oh, wow.
just for or costume. He did a lot. I don't know, maybe not.
Wow.
Maybe I'm
Wow.
hyperbolic here,
Yeah.
but it did a lot. Speaking of gowns,
Yes.
here we are as the Golden Girls again.
Yes.
If you're just tuning into the second half, we
Yes.
were on our way to a costume party.
Yes.
We're going as
Yes.
the Golden Girls, and not just us, but everyone else.
Yes.
So that's why if it's off-putting. Uh,
Yeah.
I look like an old Howard Stern here. Take off your top. Yeah. Anyway, an old Howard Stern,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
if a young Howard Stern or
Yeah.
something. Um, so what have you been listening to lately? What have you been
We're listening to Christmas music.
Christmas music?
Because it's Christmas time, so
Do you ever listen to? Is there like any reggae Christmas albums?
I listen to Bob Marley.
Bob Marley, does he have a was a
He doesn't have any
think of
Christmas albums out,
jingle
but
bells, the dun, 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 the jingle bells, the dun, 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 dun.
yeah, he died really young.
Died very
I
young.
think he died back in 1981 or
Yeah,
something like
like
that, or earlier,
only like
probably.
50 years old.
Yeah,
He was something else
yeah.
with his.
Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is gonna be alright.
You know, his band still performs. The
Yeah.
Wailers.
Well,
And
yes.
when I saw the Wailers, I mean, it was long after
Uh huh.
he was probably 25 years after Bob Marley
Yeah.
passed away, but they sang all the same. They sang all the same songs, and they were something else.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, not a kid, when I was a teenager, I hated reggae music.
Yeah.
But then the more I listened to it, the more I liked it.
Yeah.
And it's not all that different from a lot of music from that calypso music,
Yeah.
Perry Belafonte. If you like that type of music, you're gonna
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
reggae music.
Yeah. He had a son named Ziggy Marley.
Yeah,
He
still
was
going
also a
strong.
popular singer.
Still going strong.
Yeah, he when I first heard Ziggy Marley sing, he used to sing "Tomorrow People."
Hmm.
It was made back in the late '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? My introduction to the Bob Marley was not Bob Marley, but his songs.
Right.
There was a big hit song called "Steer It Up,"
Oh
and
yeah.
that was a big hit.
Little darling, steer it up.
But it was a big hit for somebody else, Johnny Nash, I think it was.
Oh yes, I remember that
And
one. Yeah.
then there was another song, "I Shot the Sheriff."
Oh
That was a big
yeah.
hit for Eric Clapton.
Yes, yes.
And I remember playing. And then when I was in college, I was listening
I
to
shot the sheriff.
every.
I did not mean to shoot the deputy.
You know, that became kind of controversial. That song,
Yeah.
not in a different way. The because he was a white guy, Eric Clapton had the hit
Yeah,
that most
yeah.
people know, the Eric Clapton version.
Yeah.
They that when a rapper had a song, uh, uh, "Kill the Police" or something, I think it was Ice-T or something. They were saying, how did Eric Clapton get away with singing a song about killing a sheriff? Or a lot of country songs like Marty Robbins, El Paso
Right,
songs like that,
right.
and Big Iron on His Hip. Those songs are a lot of these country songs, outlaw cowboy songs, are all about killing sheriffs and killing.
Yeah.
So then when a rapper, it shows you the kind of inherent racism that
Right.
Ice-T didn't seem to get away with it. Although he did get away with it because I think he rescinded that song, and then I think they probably winked at him. If you rescind the song, if you don't rescind the song, you'll never work again. But if you do rescind the song, we'll pave the way for you to be a big star. And since then
Yeah.
on Law and Order, I mean,
Yeah.
who has a better job than that?
Right.
But anyway, so the first time there's always some guy. I'm not kidding you. There's always some guy. If you play Bob Marley's "I Shot the Sheriff" like at a party or something, they say, "Why is he singing Eric Clapton's song?" But you know
Yeah.
his version is so much better.
Yeah.
Bob Marley,
Yeah.
and Bob Marley. So I was listening to a Bob Marley album, and at one point I forget the song. I'll put it in the comments. Well, at one point he goes tra la 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 la
Yes.
tra
La
la
la la la
la
la
la
la
la
la
la
la.
la. So anyway, that's the theme to the Banana Splits
Yes.
cartoon show when I was
Yes.
a kid. So so I said, oh, I guess that's where they got the music from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I looked it up, and what happened was maybe Ziggy Marley was watching the show, and Bob Marley plagiarized the theme to the Banana Split show. And usually you think, oh, they,
Right.
the Hollywood or
Right.
something stole
Yeah.
from a true artist, but actually the
Yeah.
artist stole from the
Right.
from
Right.
Hollywood.
Right. Right. Right.
And so yeah, so you go see the Wailers, and it's nothing but a good time whenever you go to any of
Yeah.
these reggae shows, because reggae is just so wonderful.
Yeah.
It all
I love
sounds the same,
reggae.
but
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah.
And what you love reggae?
Yes,
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what other who else have you been listening to?
There's a lot about Joe Jackson.
Joe Jackson? He's still he's I guess he's still
He was
performing.
popular back in the early '80s.
Yes,
And I had this one record called "Stepping Out."
stepping
It
out.
was his number one hit that he made.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was his one hit wonder or something like
It looked like
that.
no. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what he had as hits. He had a couple of hits. Is She Really Going Out with Him? Was a I think on an
Oh, I
earlier
think I
album.
remember he did other stuff.
All of his albums are all pretty good.
Yeah.
And he went against the grain, and I think his career suffered as a result of it.
Right.
He was a rather abrasive guy. I don't think I've ever seen him interviewed, or I've seen him interviewed, but he doesn't seem to say a whole lot. He does the Bob Dylan thing where he just doesn't say a whole lot.
Yeah.
And let me tell you about Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson, you can't really tell from the album covers how big he is. He's
Right.
about 6'4" or something. He's a really tall
Oh.
guy, tall and skinny, so he even looks bigger. So I was up. He came when I was in college. He performed there, and um, it was constantly being canceled and rescheduled, canceled and rescheduled. And finally, he came. Okay,
Yeah.
and they played at the where the basketball court is, University Hall. This is in the day.
Yeah.
And what happened was, there's all the you heard he was a really terrible negotiator,
Mhm.
or got hard to negotiate, probably a
Right.
good negotiator.
Yeah.
And what happened was, they he said, I don't want to play in a basketball arena because the the sound is not very good.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, and then this was a lot of money. We spent $2,000. We'll spend $2,000 on a special to rent a special sound system just for you.
Yeah.
And then he called back and said, if you're going to spend that much money to rent it just for me, I'll perform anyway. Just send me the $2,000.
Yeah.
So and we'll take care of it. So okay, he goes to the show. I'm at the show. After the second show, he does not like the sound, and he's very upset.
Oh,
And
wow.
I feel because he's going to walk off
Mhm.
because he couldn't hear himself, or it was
Yeah.
you know what a basketball arena is like. It's very
Yeah.
hard to do a really good show unless you're like U2
Mhm.
or Bruce Springsteen. I think he's more of a softer kind of sounding guy. He's not a blaring out type of guy. He's more of a nightclub guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So Joe Jackson, uh, I had my movie camera back in the day, and I filmed a lot of Joe Jackson singing, and it worked out pretty well. So after the show, I thought I'd meet him. So there was all these people, and they said, "Stay away from Joe Jackson. He's in a bad mood. Stay away from Joe Jackson."
Wow.
So then Joe Jackson walks out of, I guess, a dressing room and into a car.
Yeah.
There's no one there except me. And I stopped, and I said, Mr. Jackson, I'm very happy to see you tonight. You did a great show.
Yeah.
And he just stared at me and walked away. and,
Okay.
and I said, I'm like
Yeah.
19 years old. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very fragile ego, and he said,
Yeah.
what was that all about? I wouldn't care
Wow.
about it now. But somebody said, you want to know something? That was the nicest he was to anyone tonight. You're lucky he's a fan. You're a fan of his. He took it a little easier on you. I said,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
wow. So
Yeah.
so Joe Jackson, it was at the time Steppin' Out was popular,
Yeah.
and the album is very good.
Yeah, it is. I
And
have it.
and his next he made two albums, two videos, and the Steppin' Out album video is very good. This is at the time MTV was really big,
Right.
and then the next video he did not like. So when he did not like the way the director made some silly thing, some little story about a man in love or something.
Right,
So
right.
then he said this next album I'm going to have this, and he made it look like one of those Blue Note albums. I forget what it's called. I forget what the name of the album was. But what happened was and it was a good album, probably even better than the last one. But he said there will be no videos for this.
Mm.
Then after that, he didn't do. I don't think he ever did another video.
Yeah.
You don't even see him on TV shows. You didn't see him anywhere.
Yeah.
I think he very abrasive guy.
Right.
I mean, from what I know about him, and so no more. So then every once in a while he'll come up with a new album, and
Yeah.
you'll see a picture of him. He looks a lot different, than he did probably in the early '80s when people
Yeah.
kind of had an idea what he looked like.
Mhm.
Joe Jackson was so talented, though. Joe
Yeah, he was.
Jackson actually wrote this whole symphony
Mm.
and released that as one of his albums.
Right.
And I don't think there was any music, no singing on it. He scored a couple of TV shows.
Yeah, yeah.
Private Eye.
Mm.
The music on there is great. He scored a movie, I think, Tucker by
Mm.
Francis Ford Coppola
Mhm.
with Jeff Bridges. I mean, he's a very
Yeah.
good. In fact, I don't know why he could have gone Danny Elfman route and scored a lot of movies.
I love Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was not The Godfather or Apocalypse Now. Is one of his later films.
He directed a movie called The Virgin Suicide.
No, that's his daughter directed that.
Oh, daughter. Oh,
Sophia.
okay. Oh,
That was
Sophia.
her first film, and then
Oh,
ever
okay.
since that she made a lot of good movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Marie Antoinette and
Oh, yeah.
Lost in Translation is probably the best
Oh,
thing she
that's a
made.
good one too.
Yeah.
Lost in
She comes out.
Translation. Yeah.
She's now the Coppola that has the career. He's an old man and doesn't really.
That was
He's kind
Bill
of retired.
Murray's serious role.
Yeah,
There,
almost
right
won an
there.
Oscar for it. It was a
Yeah.
highly acclaimed film. The
And
first film,
Scarlett Johansson was in it as well.
first
I think
time I
that's
ever
one of
saw
her.
Scarlett
Yeah.
in a movie. Yeah, I never.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in movies, but I never noticed her until that movie.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so Joe Jackson scored TV shows and movies, and he did this symphony. And when I listened to it, I thought it was a great symphony. And I looked at the credits, and
Yeah.
and the conductor was George Manahan,
Oh,
who used to be the conductor of Richmond Symphony,
oh.
who I met a few times when he was the conductor of Richmond Symphony. He has since left to be, a lot of these conductors go to different orchestras.
Right.
Some conductors, some people, like I think it was Zubin Mehta was the conductor of the New York Philharmonic. At the same time, he was the conductor of the Israel Philharmonic,
Mhm.
and yet he's still, I think, the conductor of the Israel
Right.
Philharmonic. But he had a lot of, like a lot of people who conduct in the New York Philharmonic, they run to a lot of politics
Right.
and they're like baseball coaches. They're
Yeah.
almost fired as soon as they get hired,
Yeah.
or they're counting down the day they get fired.
Yeah.
I have this album right here, Zubin Mehta and
Isaac Stern.
Isaac Stern. We talked about Isaac Stern before on the show,
Yeah.
and this is Isaac Stern's 60th birthday celebration, and he's joined by three other guys. The conductor is Zubin Mehta of the New York Philharmonic. There's Pinchas Zukerman and Itzhak Perlman, both from Israel. And I talked about Isaac Stern meeting him when he came to Richmond when I was in high school, and I got to meet him. And then Zubin I'd never met, but I saw Zubin conduct at the Statue of Liberty celebration in 1986.
Oh, wow.
That's the only time I've ever seen Zubin. And and then um, Pincus came Pincus, I think, once came to my radio station to promote. He was with a cellist, another Nathaniel Rosen,
Oh, wow.
and they didn't play for us, but they talked about their new album or new. I think they were in town. Charlottesville had a lot of classical music people come to visit, and
Yeah.
Itzhak Perlman is, of course, his most celebrated living violinist today. He is has polio, and he's lived in America. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show as he was a child prodigy,
Wow.
and he's something else. Itzhak Perlman. Itzhak Perlman is
Right.
okay. Uh, I met Itzhak Perlman. He was giving, not in a music sense. He was performing when I saw Zubin Mehta at the Statue of Liberty celebration, but that's not where I met him. I met him like maybe a year before. No, about 4 years before. And what happened was he was at somewhere in New York University giving a lecture about disabilities.
Yes,
Wasn't
yes.
talking about music. And so he start when the thing was over, he started to move, and then I got ran after him and got my picture taken with him. And he was very nice. I got to It's kind of sad to say this, but when a guy has polio and doesn't walk very fast, they're very
Yeah.
easy to catch up to.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't have to run after him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
basically just had to stroll
Yeah.
fastly over
Yeah.
to him. I got to meet Itzhak Perlman. But and Itzhak Perlman, I think now probably he's the type of performer that whenever he comes to your town to play with your symphony orchestra, he it usually is the biggest, most expensive ticket you could buy
Yeah.
because he's the all the others like Isaac Stern I mentioned, he's gone. Beverly
Yeah.
Sills is gone. A lot of these people I got to see, a lot of these people I got to meet, but I kind of lament the fact I never saw Luciano Pavarotti, and the reason
Oh,
why
wow.
was he never came to town, and
Yeah.
it was too expensive to buy tickets.
Yeah.
But he was great.
I love
Yeah,
Pavarotti.
Pavarotti, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and so yeah, so that's so I just love classical music.
Me
I
too.
listen to it all
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was watching a movie, um, The Longest Day, about
Mm.
D-Day,
Oh.
and it was the I forget Operation, I forget what they called it, but the Morse code to say everything was fine
Right.
was V for victory, D dit dit dash.
Mhm.
So the music on the soundtrack of this movie was like a drum,
Right.
dun 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 dun. And it created all this tension
Yeah.
about the storming of the beaches. And then once the storming of the beaches came, they started playing the Beethoven Fifth Symphony, dun 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 dun. Dun.
It kind of reminds me of
V for victory.
It
That's
kind
what.
of
So if you
reminds
know
me.
your Morse code,
Yeah.
three dots and a dash is V for
It
victory.
kind of reminds me of Bolero. Like it
Yeah.
gets softer,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it just gets louder.
Bolero.
Like minutes later.
Bolero. Oh yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, yeah, I
Yes.
know all about Bolero
Yes.
by Ravel
Yes,
and
Ravel. Maurice Ravel.
Maurice Ravel, probably the most famous French composer in the 1920s. And
Right.
um, and I don't really know a whole lot of the history of Bolero, but it was joked in the movie 10 as
Mm.
something you play when you're making love to somebody. It kind of
Yeah.
builds up and up and up. But
Yeah.
then I heard it performed with Richard Pops and Mitch Miller, with the guy with the beard
Oh, yes.
who we always talk about.
Yes.
He was conducting it, and he says I don't want people in the aisles start doing what they do in 10 when this music plays.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But and I hope you don't fall asleep during it too, because a lot of people say this is the most boring music ever made. Because
Yeah.
it's just the same da 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 da
Right.
da 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 da
Right.
da da da
Right.
da. But for some reason, it's kind of charming that it starts slow and then it's the same, bit
Yeah.
of music over and over again. I think
Yeah.
it's repeated like 20 times,
Yeah.
more than that. And
Mhm.
and then after maybe 20 minutes. Boom, down, da, da, and it ends as this great
Yeah.
crescendo. Yeah.
Yeah.
A bolero was actually a dance, a Spanish dance, I think.
Oh, wow.
And thus, I guess it's meant to be danced to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bolero.
Yeah.
And what else? So I've been, you know what I've been listening to? I've been listening to
Wynonna
Winona, Winona
Judd.
of the Judds. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that album. I never had it, but I remember it.
She has a lot of albums,
Yeah.
and this is her first album,
Yeah. Her solo
and
album
her
or
solo
whatever.
album. Now they're all solo albums.
Yeah.
Winona, there's no hit songs on here. I mean, no songs you would know
Not
as
no one.
as a Judd song. Yeah.
Not no one else on earth. She did
No,
that one.
no one else.
No
Yeah,
one
this is
else.
on. Yeah, this
Oh,
on.
it
No
is?
one else.
Okay.
Well, I mean, what I shouldn't be so hard on Winona. Winona is very talented.
Oh, yeah, she is.
Winona, you know, of course, her and her mother, the Judds, Naomi.
Yeah. They're all talented. I
But
mean,
yeah, they have a sister who's a movie star. Yeah,
yeah.
Ashley Judd.
Her mother Naomi had cancer for a while.
Really? She had hepatitis C.
Oh, that's what she had.
She had hepatitis C, and I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah, I think that's what I know.
And then it's kind of weird what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
I think it was around the time, I guess, AIDS was a big deal,
yeah.
and people were worried about catching diseases, and
Right.
she evidently caught hepatitis C, which I think you do catch. I don't think you have to. It's a
Yeah.
contagious disease.
Yeah.
Certain ways you get it more than others, but
Mhm.
and I think there's no cure for it supposedly.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what happened with Naomi Judd. Was that Naomi Judd announced that she had hepatitis C and she was leaving the Judds. However, we have like a year before I leave the Judds, so we're going to have a farewell concert tour.
Okay. Yeah.
So here's a sick woman, and then she performs every night with her daughter,
Yeah.
and then of course there's a final show, and they make a big flourish, a final album. They make a big deal about it,
Yeah.
and then something like 6 months after she retired, she claimed she no longer had hepatitis C and she was in
Ah.
remission.
Mhm.
She never really came back again. But I always got the idea that she probably did that for her daughter. Her daughter, I don't know if she made it. I hate to say someone makes up a disease,
Yeah.
but she got cured of a disease. She she looked like she had it bad. She had it for a year, and then she got better. Maybe retiring got her better.
Yeah.
But I always feel that she was probably saying no one's ever going to listen to my daughter again if I'm
Yeah.
not in the band. So I better leave now so she could have her own careers, starting out. Now, if you actually, the albums are really good of the Judds, but if you actually see them perform, you realize that on television or something, Naomi didn't really do a whole lot. She was pretty and everything, but the daughter,
Yeah.
it was
She did
still
most of the work.
Winona was the real
Yeah.
talent. She was
Yeah.
singing and everything, but
Yeah.
everyone was looking at the mother because the mother was very charming and everything.
Right.
Winona was not as charming as the mother, but
Yeah.
Winona was good though. And then so then after they they break up, I would say the Judds, Winona performs everywhere. She wants to get a foothold in the music industry. She has a new album.
Yeah.
She'll play anywhere. She'll appear on any talk show. She'll appear on any gauge. So I go to Innsbruck to see her. I'd never seen the Judds. I never saw the Judds originally.
Yeah.
I mean live, but I went to see Winona, and it was the worst rainstorm ever. They
Wow.
had to delay the show for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
so bad. It was like a torrential downpour. They actually told us to go back to our cars and come back in a half hour. The show might start. She says Winona's ready to go, but it rained really hard, but it still rained, but it wasn't as hard as earlier. She went out there performing.
Yeah.
I couldn't even stay for the whole show. I felt
What?
bad because I only got to see her sing maybe 4 songs, but it was raining so hard in the crowd.
Wow.
And she was under like a little canopy, but there's still rain everywhere. And
Yeah.
she's with all this electrical equipment. I
I
was afraid she was
know.
going to get
I
electrocuted. I said, I don't
know.
want to be here when that happens.
When was that?
This was back in the 90s
Wow.
about the time. And what was kind of weird about the whole thing was the songs Winona was singing, they weren't Judd songs.
Wow.
She wasn't singing "Tell Me About the Good Old Days" or
Yeah.
"Girls' Night Out" or any of those
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
songs. She was singing her own songs,
Mm.
and they were all very good.
Oh
And I felt
wow.
you hate leaving a concert when when the music is good. It's only when the
Yeah, I
music starts
know.
getting bad that you want
Yes.
to leave.
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah.
ball game. You only when the ball game is is out, your team is not going to win or your team is not going to lose. Then you go home. I'm going to beat the
Wow.
traffic.
Wow. Wow. That was something.
So I was very impressed with Winona. And now
Yeah.
every time I haven't seen Winona in a while, but on television, she's always worth a listen to me because it isn't until I realized when her mother and her stopped performing together that she was the talent. She was the you don't go to a concert because someone's pretty. You go to
Yeah.
a concert because the music is
I
good.
know. I know. I know. Just like if you get on an album cover.
Yeah,
My mom used to complain about Mariah Carey.
yeah.
How she was, in these like, album covers and all that. She was like, all they're doing is just selling her body. She's not, I mean,
Mariah Carey. Yeah,
yeah,
but Mariah Carey is a good
yeah. I
singer
mean, I like Mariah
though. Yeah,
Carey.
yeah. I think Mariah Carey has more hits than anybody. They
Yeah,
say.
wow,
Yeah. I mean, I only know a few of them. I know
yeah,
the Christmas song she sings.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She sang last year on one of the shows. We
yeah,
should repeat that show. If
yeah.
we had reruns on the internet, we'd do that. A rerun. Actually, everything on the internet is a rerun. You can
All
watch them
I
anytime.
want for Christmas is you.
Yes. So
Yes,
the Christmas season's just getting started. So let's
that's
enjoy. We
right.
didn't really do a whole lot of Christmas stuff today. So as the weeks roll on,
Yes,
we'll get
yes.
closer
We're
to
definitely gonna
get
do some
closer to
Christmas
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yay!
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I really enjoy
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely. Always my pleasure.
Can I be on it next week?
Of course.
Do I have to wear this again?
No, you wear something different. Yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
gosh, I look like oh man,
yeah,
the Golden Girls. Man.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
on you it looks good. All right.
I just want to say thank you all for tuning in, and may God bless you all. And I cannot wait till Christmas time. God bless you all. Take care.